Welcome back to the SBS pod, and we've got a lot to discuss today in the worst way possible as we recap UCLA's soul-crushing loss versus the Minnesota Golden Gophers and what would have been an opportunity for Coach Cronin to bring in his 500th win. We actually discuss where does this rank on the all-time worst UCLA basketball losses, or at least in the last 30 years. Who is to blame? Is it the players? Is it their free throw shooting? Is it Mick? Where is it Mara? We're going to get into all of that coming up next on the SBS podcast. Okay. I think I have it first on the list that this, I feel the same way after the Minnesota game as I did after the football loss to Arizona in 2022 at the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. Just a gutting home loss at like a super critical part of the season where the team was pretty convincingly coming into its own, you know? Like I was pretty confident that this team was finding its footing right when it should. Like we've kind of seen mixed teams do before. Kind of like what I thought that DTR team was doing back in 2022. And then they just completely shit the bed. I got a text from a buddy who lives on the East Coast. He goes, I went to bed when they were up 11. This school just shatters my emotions constantly. And I feel like that kind of sums it up.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as that Mac charge, happened, I raced out. I was just like,
you left during that?
I couldn't handle like being there and looking at the court. I was so frustrated down the stretch that it felt a lot like the North Carolina game earlier this season. That's what I sort of compare it to. Obviously that Arizona game, in 2022 football for sure, but just what a letdown, man. What a letdown after having this great stretch. The Illinois game I did not care about. It was a good loss in my opinion.
Yeah.
But to have this and I was talking last week, Ross, like it's an easier home stretch than all these other teams, and like losing to Minnesota at home, you're not taking advantage of that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it's Minnesota very unsuspecting. They're one of only two Big Ten teams to do an LA sweep, and it's them and Michigan who's leading the Big Ten, and Minnesota was fighting to get in the tournament. I think this win pretty much seals their Big Ten tournament status and pretty much kills our hopes of a top 4 seed.
And Minnesota was down 14
to
USC. They were down 17 to UCLA. For those that missed it, UCLA obviously drops the game at home to Minnesota. They lost it 64-61. They're now 19-8 on the season, 10-6 in the Big Ten. We're up again 17 in the first half. One guy, Dawson Garcia, scored 27 of his career high, 32 points all in the second half, which matched UCLA's team points in the second half. It was UCLA 27, Dawson Garcia 27 at the end of the second half, which is, I don't remember the last time I saw someone do that to a UCLA team at Poly or on the road. Caleb Love, North Carolina, something like that.
Sure. I mean, 27 in a game is insane to begin with.
Yeah.
Is you're having a game of your season. 27 and a half is almost unheard of considering, what did he end with, like 32? So that means he had 5 in the first half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did a great job on him in the first half. Doubled, they had tons of pressure. They were doubling him constantly in the first half, and then not sure what happened.
Yeah, they doubled him really well in the first half, but I don't want to take away the good job Daly was doing on him. I want to say that he had him as his man for the entirety of the first half, and then he either picked up 2 or 3 fouls going into the halftime, and then that just tanked his minutes in the second half, and then we see 27 points out of his man. So
I think he got a quick one too, right at the start of the second half.
I think that's what it was. I think he picked up his third right when the second half started, and then after that he was basically non-existent. He was non-existent offensively either way, but I want to say he was locking him up pretty good because he had 5 points at the half.
Yeah, I mean that last 4 minutes of the game was one of the hardest 4-minute stretches of basketball we've watched Mick Cronin basketball where there have been stretches of 4-8 minutes where well, you seemingly can't put it together. But that last 4 minutes, it was almost like watching a car crash in slow motion, and like you know it's coming, and it's gonna be awful, and you just
like,
can't
are we
do
really
anything.
doing this right now?
Yeah.
Are we really doing this right now?
It was like the multifaceted nature of the loss. Like, it checked so many bad boxes. You've got inferior opponent. You're at home. What was the spread? We were minus
11.5.
Minus 11.5. Blew a 17-point lead. Critical home stretch of the season. 500 win opportunity for Mick. The slow death brought on by the free throws. I'd rather just blow a lead normally. Why did it have to be from the free throws, man? It made it so much right. That was torturous. Those last 5 minutes. That was the most torturous basketball stretch I've ever had to sit through. And I saw it live, objectively the worst I've ever seen.
I went out in the backyard today and shot 10 free throws. guess my percentage.
Oh, did you actually? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? I'll go 6 for 10.
Boom. 6 for 10. Yeah.
I still got it, boys.
Yeah, I went out and shot some free throws, but obviously a little bit more pressure.
Well,
but,
Kyle, you're an All-American.
Yeah, but different story.
Interesting exercise I found on Twitter, and I apologize in advance to whoever put this out because I forgot to find the handle. But it's asking, where does this fall on the list of worst UCLA basketball losses of all time, or at least in the last 30 years? I would wager in the 5 to 10 range. I really would.
Yeah.
You know, I think games like, notorious ones like the Gonzaga one, the buzzer beater, like the North Carolina Caleb Love game, like those are exempt from that because that's just you're dying on your shield or whatever the fuck.
And that's some divine, like to lose on half court shots and stuff like that. That's divine intervention type stuff.
Yeah, but just
it's totally different.
Given the factors that I listed a few minutes ago, like that's the hardest loss I've had to stomach in a super long time. I mean, 30 years. You've got Princeton 96 that I wasn't even alive for, so that doesn't really register that much for me, but I saw it mentioned on Twitter. Now, St. Bonaventure was a bad one, 2018 for Alfred. That was when I was like seeing red.
That was the end. I mean, that was
the end for him.
Yeah.
That was the end.
Thank God. My freshman year, we lost to Monmouth. I don't even know if that's the correct pronunciation, but we lost to a school called either Monmouth or Monmouth with like Prince Ali. And that was the same team that was the number 1 Kentucky.
Yeah.
So crazy. And then last one I want to mention, again, bringing up Kentucky, I think the score was 41-7 at some point. Do you guys remember that one?
I don't, but
it was I think it was like the battle for Atlantis or something, and it was an Alfred team.
Horrible.
And they were down 41. I was like, do I just retire from sports right now?
Well, that was the one I threw in there from last year, and this is a completely different team because the expectation last year just wasn't there. But the 46-point Utah loss.
Okay,
that was one of the worst ever.
when you put that down, that was like I clearly have blocked that from my memory because I don't even remember that happening. And I pull out stats from 2004 from like Mercedes Lewis's freshman year of like how many like one-handed catches he had in the third quarter. But I don't remember us losing
damn near 50 points to Utah.
Like, I'm proud of myself for actually canceling that out of my mind.
Yeah.
I won't let that live in my mind.
Like, I don't care
that was
what
one of the worst things ever. Worst.
That was
the team just completely gave up.
Like, I don't care what type of team you're fielding. UCLA shouldn't lose by 50 points to anybody.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't expect like a Monmouth to lose to like Purdue by 46 points.
No,
apologies if I'm botching the Monmouth pronunciation to any Monmouth fans that are tuning in.
The rare intersection of UCLA, yeah.
Who are your teams? Well, I'm a Clippers guy. I love Bruin basketball, but I'm a big Monmouth football guy. Okay. Who do we blame here? We've talked about the free throws, but I know we really want to talk about mixed decision making and rotations. Are we blaming players? Are we blaming Mick? Where do we look here? Because I want to blame somebody. And the refs didn't make any controversial calls.
Obviously, the free throw shooting, you can never win a game shooting 40%. You know, we won the turnover battle. We did not, I believe, end up winning in the rebound category. But
which I think is the first time Minnesota's out-rebounded another team.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, this is just all I need to say on this podcast tonight. Okay, Adai Mara played 14 minutes last night. Okay,
Yeah.
he played 10 minutes in the first half, 4 minutes in the second half. 10 minutes in the first half is 50% of the first half time. 4 minutes is 20% of the second half time. Okay, how did we do in the first half?
Ended with a double-digit lead at half.
Double figures at the half.
We're up 17 at one point. In the second half, we were outscored 41-27, I believe. 41-27 with Adai Mara being on the floor for 4 minutes. Like,
Dude.
I just don't understand the continued issue with Mick playing Adai, and I understand that he is obsessed with Bilodeau. Bilodeau was great in the Illinois game. You know, he's sort of been a little streaky for me lately, like a little less consistent than the beginning of the year, and I just don't know how Mick can continue to see the impact that Adai has when he's on the floor, even if he makes mistakes. He turned the ball over last night. He brought it down once, got stripped. Okay, right.
Well, even if it's mistakes, or even if his box score isn't anything, him just standing under the bucket forces an offense to change how they attack. If he's
100%.
standing under the bucket and just putting his arms up, I don't care if he has 4 points or if he has 25 points. Him being on the floor changes the game.
And how many times did Dawson Garcia in the second half just get to the rack at will?
That's kind of
Whether that was
that's my point.
baseline or backing down Daly. I mean, like Daly and Bilodeau, they are average defenders, I would say. I mean, Daly is a little bit better than Bilodeau defensively, but they're nothing to write home about. They're offensive threat. There are two leading scorers. They need to be on the floor, but when you play them in tandem, we just get destroyed on the glass, and we get destroyed in just paint protection. The other thing that Adai Mara opens up is Sky Clark and Dylan Andrews, and no one talks about it enough.
Yeah.
Dylan Andrews was non-existent in the second half, or I mean, at all last
In the
night.
game, he 28 minutes, 1 for 6 from the field.
Yeah, but you take a look at the Indiana game when Adai was on the court. He is the only guy on our team that really draws double teams when he's in the game. No one else, and it opens up. Yeah, it opens.
And then
up
he's
the
got
perimeter.
the dish. He has that awesome passing ability.
Exactly. There was a pass he had off of a screen to Trent Perry in the Indiana game at the top of the paint where he looped it around.
That was awesome.
With his left. Like,
dude, you see moments like that out of Mara, and you have to wonder, because this is like 2 games in a row that it's like the same kind of minute allotment, where the first half like a decent amount, and then it's like he's banned from playing in the second half. If you're him and you have highlights like that, I think it was Indiana, you had the block on one end, you come down the other end and you slam it, you make these around, you have this insane passing ability. Why would you come back next year? Because you see that all over Twitter. Kyle, I know you've said it multiple times. I don't want to speak it into existence because I love the guy on our team. I truly think he's the best basketball player on UCLA. Why on earth would you come back to this? Is the scary question.
The fans love him.
Yeah.
I mean, he has the support of the crowd. When he comes in, the roar of the crowd you hear. When he comes off, everybody's giving him an ovation. The highlights they're showing at Pauley Pavilion. We were all at the game. Bro. I turned to Ross and I'm like, look, the play of the game is Adai Mara's putback. And he's sitting on the bench. You're showing his highlights. There was a highlight reel UCLA put out of the last game where it was a 2.5 minute total highlight clip. The first minute and a half was all Adai Mara. It was blocks, it was assists, it was dunks. Like he was maybe ill the last game, that's why he didn't get minutes. But what was the reason? Did Mick address it in his press conference?
Also, kind of on a separate note, not like it's Mick's job to put butts in seats. It's his job just to win and put forth what he thinks is the best product to win games. But it's also just so UCLA that the fan favorite. And I think if we ran the offense and just allowed him to be a bigger part of the team through him, that would bring more fans into Pauley. Because fans love him. He's a 7'3" phenom from Spain, and he's just a fun guy to root for. It's sick watching a guy that big throw it down and block a ton of shots. UCLA needs I mean, you got to look at the product. It's like, look, it's been a pretty competitive team this year, but people still just don't show up. There needs to be some flash. Like there needs to be an element that brings people to Poly. That's just kind of what I'm learning about UCLA fans now, is that it's not enough just to be a good competitive team. There needs to be a draw like the Lonzo. Lonzo was obviously a draw. I think you kind of have that with Mara, and it's a shame because I feel like if he was a focal point of this team, fans would be more into it.
And I think the team would be better as well.
And we would sell a lot of shirts if his agent would get back to us.
But one last thing I want to say on Adaimara, okay? The stretch from the Wisconsin game to the Michigan State game, I think, is the best basketball UCLA's played all year. It was the Wisconsin game, Washington, USC, Oregon, and Michigan State. That was the stretch of best basketball this team's played, defensively and offensively. Wisconsin game, Adaimara got 21 minutes. The Washington game, Adaimara got 30 minutes. The USC game, Adaimara got 27 minutes. The Oregon game, he got 20 minutes. The Michigan State game, he got 25 minutes.
So the low out of that is 20 in a game that we blew out by 30 or something, right? So that makes sense.
Like I just don't understand what other data do you have to continue to look at? His plus minus jumps off the charts. Like even if he doesn't score, him being out there and standing there is like enough for this team.
And this is a Mick Cronin case study, right? Because if there's been one consistent complaint throughout his time here, it's the inexplicable rotations and either attachments to certain players or lack thereof. And I think for a lot of people, this is turning into a straw breaking a camel's back. Is how is it so obvious and so clear, but just something that he refuses to budge on?
We were in the SBS section. Shout out to everybody who joined us. I jokingly turned to Ross, I think with 2 minutes left in the game, and I said, hey, should we start a "We Want a Die" chant? Yeah. We should have.
We want Mara.
Yeah, something like that. Why didn't we do that?
Did I say no?
No, I don't. I just think the game started again and we were back into the zone. But like legitimately, like, does it take that from the fans? Because Mick obviously isn't happy with the fans. We're not happy with the fans. Two different reasons. But like, you have, I don't know. I'm gonna ramble, so I'm just gonna cut myself off.
Well, that's actually a pretty good transition to something that I want to talk about. I'm sure the listeners want to hear us talk about is Mick blames the fans apparently for at least part of the loss
of the free throws,
if not the loss, because the free throws are what lost them the game. To quote, "Our crowd, they make it worse," Cronin said, going on to mimic fans' groans. This is from Ben Bolch from the LA Times. When a guy misses a free throw, I mean, the stress in Poly's crazy. When a guy, I mean, the guy's not trying to miss. How about help the guy? How about cheer for the guy? And end quote. To that I say, I posted about this on Bruin Report. That's like showing someone a month-old dead rat, and then they wince, and you're like, oh, come on. I've never seen more consecutive missed free throws in my life. That was an involuntary reaction by fans. Like, I'm not trying to hurt your players' feelings, Mick, but when they missed, what was it, 8 or 6 in a row? It was 6, right?
It was 6 in a row.
They missed 6 in a row to end the game, and you're blaming the fans for, like, groaning?
It's a 1-point game. You miss 2 potentially game sealing, or if anything, game extending free throws, and the crowd goes, oh. Yeah. Like what? Yes, it's a crowd. You want them not like.
He's a very reactive guy, and he's a very fiery guy. We all fucking know that. But he's not an idiot. At least I don't think he's an idiot. He's gonna wake up the next day today.
The Mara substitution stuff would be controversial.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm getting at is that was such an absurd comment to where either
he regrets
the moment it came out of his mouth, or the next day when he reads his words in the paper, he's going, "What the fuck was I talking about?" That was maybe the dumbest thing he said in a press conference.
Whatever it is, this is now the second time after a loss that Mick's post-game comments are making national news. Like, it's on mainstream, not just like UCLA. It's on The Athletic. It's on Barstool. It's on ESPN. There's picking it up. Like, people know this. And
Outkick. The Clay Travis's thing, Outkick. It's kind of dumb, but this was their headline. Hold on, let me pull it up. Powerhouse basketball coach unleashes stupid rant. Looks like a fool. Watch.
Yeah. And then the kind of the comments that were not as much picked up on, that I kind of rubbed me even more the wrong way, were the ones that he was like, we're obviously not well coached.
Oh, yeah.
We're obviously like, we're not prepared.
Okay.
We obviously, all these things in a way that it seems like he's like, well, I did my job.
That's what and I think a lot of people have the biggest problem with, is the deflection away from himself as a head coach. I've got the quote right here, again from Bulge. Quote unquote, "We're so poorly coached," Cronin said. "We didn't know Dawson Garcia was going to spin back to his left hand. We had two guys on him and let him lay it in." So I guess we didn't go over that. Obviously being like facetious. Like, that's kind of like rule number one of being a coach or even just a leader, is that if you're the head guy and the product is bad and your like employees, your workers, your players are performing poorly, it's just basic accountability 101. And we struggle so much with recruiting, and that's undeniable. We don't get high-level talent, at least in LA, in the high school ranks. And even fucking NIL, you could argue, with this transfer portal. Yeah. Sorry, I meant transfer portal offseason. We're all really high on the offseason transfer portal class. But with the way the season's playing out, yeah, we've got some guys on there, but like, how many of these guys would start in a top 5 team? How many of them would start at Auburn with the war chest we had reported to have this offseason? So my point being, I don't think you can, no matter what your brand of basketball is or how much the players are said to like respond and all this shit, you can't go to the media and completely throw your boys under the bus and absolve yourself, wash your hands of all of it, and expect people to want to come and play for you.
Multiple times. This isn't the first time this season he's done it.
Yeah.
That's what
it won't be the last time either.
No.
I don't know if you guys have seen, but I don't know where I saw this. I think it must have been on X, but it was Swaggy P,
Baron Davis,
I think Gilbert Arenas, and Baron Davis and some other guys in a room. Someone took a video, and Baron Davis was going at Gilbert Arenas for allowing his son to commit to SC, like blah blah blah, and everyone in that room was going at Baron Davis, saying no 5-star, no one wants to go play for your coach, and like basically saying all these things of just exactly what we're talking about. No 5-star wants to go play and just get ridiculed 24/7 and sit every time he ties his shoe the wrong way and all these things. It was a very interesting 20-second clip. Go try and find it.
I should have posted it. I saw that clip, and I love it. Even though Baron Davis, like, he's just so clearly like talking out of his ass, like, but that's just, I've been in his shoes so many times of just like, whether I think I'm right or wrong, just shitting on SC.
Yeah, 100%. But it's tough because I am a Mick Cronin loyalist. But at the same time, last night I was expanding the free agency market for a little bit. But I've come back to real life, and I think that I don't know what I think at the moment still, but I do think that we can. I proposed this to you guys last night. What if we lose to Minnesota? We lose to Ohio State and Purdue, win the last 2 games, and then win the Big Ten tournament.
Well, see, this is what I was actually going to bring up.
I'd say sign me up. I would say sign me up.
Why that specific? It's such a specific outcome. How did you land?
4 games.
How did you land on that scenario?
That's 2 and 3 over our last 5.
Okay,
but winning the Big Ten tournament.
I would absolutely take that.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Would you take 1 and 4 and losing to USC but beating Northwestern
and winning the Big Ten tournament?
Don't bring SC into this.
Yeah, I take that in a heartbeat. What I wanted to say was, when we were talking about the worst losses, the reason those losses were so bad is because those seasons ended in disappointing fashions. If somehow this team makes like an Elite 8 run, I'm not going to look back at this loss and being like, oh, that was one of the worst losses, because it didn't derail the season. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Arizona game derailed that season.
How did it end? At Tony the Tiger, El Paso Bowl.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, this team still has its future and its destiny in front of it. That, they could win a Big Ten tournament. They could make an Elite 8. They could do more. They could do less. That's, I think, ultimately is going to determine if this goes down in that like top 5 worst losses in program history.
Yeah.
And this team can still, I mean, we would have made it a lot easier on ourselves last night because if we would have won last night, we'd be 2 games back of first place in the Big Ten with
Right, with like
so
half
many
a
of
game
the
on Purdue,
top
right?
4 teams.
Yeah.
No, we'd actually be tied with Purdue,
There you
or
go.
I think maybe half game. But with all these guys have to still play each other. Michigan and Michigan State play each other twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we still technically could get a top 4 seed. I think we do have to win out in order to get that double bye.
And
Maybe we
you
can
need
lose to Purdue
help
and
from
still get a
somebody
double
else.
bye.
Yeah.
You need a lot of help from Michigan State losing. Maryland has a pretty easy stretch down the road, and I think Maryland, like the tough part about this first season of the Big Ten is we've done fairly well against the upper echelon, middle of the Big Ten, but my God, we've lost to Rutgers, Minnesota, and Nebraska. Nebraska's loss is just continuing. They lost to Penn State tonight by like
Yeah.
25.
I didn't know
So,
that. Get the fuck out of here.
Those
Dude.
no, those 3 losses are aging. We've lost to Rutgers, Minnesota, and Nebraska, who are all lower end Big Ten. I mean,
The New Mexico loss
lucky
looks pretty decent right now.
Yeah,
I won't lie.
that's the sleeper loss of the season is New Mexico.
The Indiana, we got so lucky on that 3 on
Yeah.
the switch out of bounds play where
Mm-hmm.
I also was irate with Mick Cronin in that position. Dymar and William Kyle never played together on a single set, I don't think, all season. And he put both of them in on that final out of bounds play and expected them to know the rotation out of bounds.
The out of bounds plays suck.
That's been a
The out of
recurring
bounds,
theme.
the only person who's made that same swing across through the screens and get the ball and shoot at the mid range, the only person who's made that is Laz.
But it's
I haven't seen anybody
us.
else make it.
Force.
I want to say it's us inbounding the ball as well as defensively.
Yes, they're terrible.
Both ends of inbounding the ball has been a weird problem this year. It's like that and the free throw shooting are, someone brought up a good point. A buddy texted me. It was like the UCLA free throw shooting in the clutch has been so high at times and so low. I mean, you had those Sky Clark trips. He had a couple trips. The Dylan Andrews.
Where was Sky Clark?
I know we should get to that in a second.
Yeah,
but
no, that's
but you know what I mean? Like I feel like the North Carolina game and Minnesota, it was like so bad to where you just like it almost kind of makes you forget that there's actually been complete opposite ends of the spectrum where you've had like there's no way he makes both of these and they sank both of them. It's such a weird trait of the team that is so inconsistent.
I've worked for a college basketball program, granted not in the basketball side, but I've attended a lot of practices. There are multiple, at least for the program that I work with, there are multiple times during the practice session where you run out and you have to make 10 free throws in a row. No, everybody. It's from the center down to the guards. And then there was games where in prep for games, the scout team would bring in like pots and pans and stand behind the baskets and create those kind of intimidating environments. You gotta, I mean, I haven't been at Mick Cronin's practices, but I imagine like this isn't a foreign idea.
Yeah.
Like this is free throws are something you practice in a game.
That's why,
Or
like
in a practice
when I was
session.
like looking to blame someone, I'm like, do you blame Mick for the free throw shooting? Like when Tyler Bilodeau was asked about that in the press conference, he immediately shot it down. He said like, no, like that is on. He said on the individual, I need to be better at the line. I do wonder, is it like how much can coaching actually? How far can it take you in your free throw shooting, or does it just come down to do your guys have fucking stones or not?
to be honest with you, I just think we fucking suck at free throws.
Yeah.
We just
To
I think
that
we're
point,
249th in the country.
Dude,
What?
not only are we
Yeah.
dreadfully bad at free throw shooting, but I want to know what is the percentage from teams shooting free throws against UCLA? It's got to be like 85%.
I've just went back to the Maryland game and sort of scanned through them. I don't think anyone's shot below 74% against us. Illinois shot 90%, 18 for 20. Michigan State shot like 80%.
What was
And then,
Wisconsin?
yes, they shot 85% from free throw and 50% from three. 15 for 30 from the 3-point
Well,
line.
that's Wisconsin's game plan. It's they just rip
Wisconsin
threes.
is so
Kyle, how many of those games were home games? I'm curious.
Maryland was on the road. Illinois was on the road.
Wisconsin, Oregon, Michigan State.
I'm just curious because people love to complain about the lack of home court advantage at Poly Pavilion.
We've been very good at home.
I wonder. No, I know we've defended the court well, but I mean from like, where do you feel the home court advantage the most? It's probably like going like a trip to the line. Yeah. I wonder what the percentage at Poly Pavilion is for opposing fans as opposed to like other. That'd be a fun project for us to see like if we could find a measurable like data line saying here is your tangible effect if you guys sit down your ass. Teams are shooting 10% higher at Poly Pavilion than other road venues.
Look at opponents scoring under 4 minutes in games decided by less than 10 points.
Last night during one of the free throws, the Den started broke out in a UCLA chant.
Oh, I know. That was so crazy. I literally was going, "Shut up! Stop!"
People started getting loud.
That was the loudest. That was the loudest they were all night. Was a UCLA player shooting.
I turned to Ross. I'm like, bro, this is when these fools decide to stand up and get loud. And then Ross and I, the entire night, Ross was like, "Get up, get loud." And then they're getting up, and then Ross is like, "Shut up, shut up."
Finally, people want to get off your ass.
I saw them starting to stand up with 40 seconds left in a 1-point game.
No, yeah, I know.
People were leaving.
Yeah. 1 point up.
Yeah.
It's the fans didn't get into it. You had the assistant coaches. You had the players. You had Mick himself waving the fans to get up.
Mick did it multiple times.
Which is I have never seen a head coach.
Yeah.
I've seen assistants. I've seen players. But I've never seen a head coach have to beg the fans to get loud. And people looking at our 3 rows like, dude, these guys are
like
these guys are the crazies.
We were like the degenerates at Poly Pavilion last night when we were just like a small sample size of basically every other fan base but our own.
Even the Den was looking at us.
We were fucking eating their lunch, leading chants, and they would have to follow suit. You would see the dance team's pom pom routine matching the chants that our drunken two rows were starting.
Yep.
For 50% off.
Wasn't there an Irish guy that came
oh my
over
god.
Dude,
that was so strange.
Because he got kicked out of his section for being too loud.
I wish we would have started the episode with talking about the Irish guy. I have no idea who he was, but he came over to our section and he just reeked of vodka and he had a thick Irish. This was like I thought I was dreaming. It was like a dream. He comes over, has like a Conor McGregor level Irish accent, wearing like a shirt with a shamrock on it.
It was actually like a caricature.
Irish dive bar. And then a UCLA hat. I'm like, who are you?
He's an SBS member.
And dude, he was like dropping. He was at least on our side. He was like pulling for UCLA, but he was dropping F-bombs. He kept pulling out this Sprite bottle full of Tito's.
He tried to get me to drink it so many. He's like, no, dude, drink it. I'm like, I'm not. No, drink it.
Oh, fucking UCLA. And all like the people in front were turning around like, is that an Irish person screaming, dropping F-bombs?
It was crazy.
And then he left, and I'm assuming he got kicked out.
I didn't bother thinking about what happened to him after. But yeah, it was weird. He comes up, he's like, I got kicked out of my section for being too loud and yelling during the game. And so I saw you guys yelling, so I thought I'd come join you.
I feel like if we continue to do the SBS section enough, it's like moths to a flame. Like they're just going to keep coming. We're just going to be attracting all the future Poly band crowd.
But yeah, dude, the fucking fans were terrible.
I was a little heated last night, but on the forums, I was saying that I think UCLA, contextually, they might have, at least right now, they have the worst fans in college basketball.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I think I might say it.
For a team that has success, like, think about it, guys. We're a winning team. We're guaranteed more or less to be in the tournament. Like, you're in the top 64 teams in the country. I would venture to say we're in the top 30 teams in the country. On our night, we're top 15. Mm-hmm. Any other team in the country like that at least is selling out 75%, and their fans are invested and they're getting into the game. Our fans fucking suck. I mean, do we want to get into the numbers? How we're like almost dead last in the Big Ten in attendance? We're being beaten by Washington.
In what business of any kind would that be an acceptable product for a leader? I'm looking at the athletic director here.
Mm-hmm. Even if we take the top section of Poly out of it, Poly fits what? 10,000?
I think that's 4,000 up there, so that'd be like 9,000.
Yeah, we'd still not sell it out.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, where is the accountability for this? Like, that would not fly in any setting. Like, for whatever reason, you can just get away with it at UCLA. There are the enrollment, the population of LA, the UCLA alumni base that lives in LA.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you have those numbers to work with, despite all the traffic shit, just look at the West Side alone. The fact that you are third to last in a 16-team conference and you're only ahead of Northwestern and USC, that is a legitimate failure to market and sell a program in every way imaginable. Like, you did not do your job, and you failed to the utmost degree.
In a successful season.
And it's a good team.
Yeah.
It's, for the most part, it's been I'll use the word competitive.
Yeah.
It's been a competitive team. Like, what have you been doing to fill the seats? I would kill for some memo to come out and here was the list of things we did to try and sell this team and sell this program. What did you do?
They did no mention or real campaign for Mick's 500th win.
Nothing.
That would have been a reason for a lot of people to come out on a Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, man. It's we need to get UCLA students to become more UCLA fans. I went to UCLA. We all went to UCLA, but I have a lot of friends who I'm very close with who have not didn't go to a game when they were students. We had a Final Four run when we were students, Kyle, and have not gone to games since they've graduated. Because the culture wasn't there when we were in school, for whatever reason. To indoctrinate's a bad word. I think we've used it a couple times in this.
I love that word in this sense.
You kind of have to indoctrinate these kids coming in as a freshman to become a fan. Yes, and I make a joke about Penn State being a cult. I make a joke about UT being a cult. But that cultish behavior leads to some of the best environments in athletics, period.
They need leaders. Okay, the guys that sit courtside right behind the PA or right behind the broadcast announcers that are sort of orchestrating things and the most passionate. They need to spread out.
I know. It's just the center.
They need to put one of those guys up in the section behind the basket, halfway up, that is riling up those people.
Yep.
They need to why are they all in one space?
That's such a simple that. You know how much that costs? $0 and
because because they're all students.
Also, they're already there.
Yeah,
and they're sitting in a 10-yard stretch when there's
great seats.
When there's a whole arena that you need to account for.
Yeah, I don't know. Is nobody thinking about this?
I know that's
what's worse. What's worse? Nobody's thinking about ways we could get better about this stuff, or the fact that they're thinking of ways,
and this is it.
I don't know what's worse.
All right. Anyways, looking forward, the Bruins have now a very critical game. You can't lose both of them.
Nope.
This homestand ends on Sunday against Ohio State. Noon. 1 p.m. 12:45.
Yeah.
All right, 12:45. What's that one? CBS. Ooh, so we get the music.
Yep.
Do they use the March Madness music for just regular season basketball?
I think they do. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Dun, dun.
That's 2 episodes in a row where I've sang
jingles.
A jingle.
Yeah, 12:45. There's a Bruin Varsity Club tailgate happening. So any former athletes, managers, student assistants, stuff like that, right?
Free mimosas and free breakfast if you're part of the Bruin Varsity Club. So Ross and Keon, if you want to join me.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
Cool. Planning plans live. All right. Well, we didn't really preview Ohio State much, but I feel like we all know what needs to happen. The Bruins need to win it.
It's got to win.
You got to win. At this point, it's
Ohio
win.
State needs this badly.
Yeah.
Ohio State needs this badly, though. They're on the bubble.
Yeah.
Those are the most dangerous teams this time of the basketball season.
Minnesota.
The Minnesotas, the Ohio States, especially, and then when you get into March and the tournament, conference tournaments, those teams that have nothing to lose, their season's on the line, so I guess they have everything to lose, but they're playing free.
Minnesota.
They're playing free.
Minnesota was one.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Minnesota needed to get in. I mean, this is a team.
UCLA was a team like that in 2021. That was UCLA
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
We were.
And this
You
is
know?
a team that went to Purdue and won in Lafayette. This is a Q1 win that they could add to their resume. Like,
They were stuck
you
in
know,
with
they're
Michigan too, right? They were leading for a portion of that
yeah.
game.
No, they've played close games. Like they're 15-11, something like that. But they've played tons of close games and lost a lot of them. We, on the flip side, have won a lot of close games. So, I mean, by no means are they. I mean, it's tough. They have great guards. They're only going to play one true big, but he's 7-1. He's only going to get like 16, 18 minutes for the game. So they are going to be very guard heavy, which, ideally I think we match up well against, as long as our guards play to their potential.
Yep.
But like, it's just this conference, man. It's every single night, night in, night out. You're going to get a team's best shot, and it's just a gauntlet schedule. Like it's truly insane, but that's why I love it.
It's just the circle of suck. But anyways, thank you as always for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll be back at you next, let's call it Tuesday.
Yeah.
We'll have an Ohio State recap for you. Hopefully coming after a big dub. And we'll catch you then. But thanks as always. Go Bruins.